Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome back to Book Talk with Cindy. Today, we will have a back to back launch. Okay, there will be two books which will be launched for this afternoon. And medyo alliterative sila, no? Because for 4 p.m., we have Tikim, and for 5 p.m., we have How to Tame Your Tikbalang Without Even Trying. Okay, so please stay tuned for the entire hour. Now, as I said, today we'll have two stories or two books to be featured. And for this afternoon, I will be calling in 𝖫𝕬𝕬, the author of Tikim. He holds a Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English, and a Master of Arts in Creative Writing from the University of Santo Tomas. His creative works have been featured in Rappler, Liwayway Magazine, and the Philippine Daily Inquirer, among others. He was a creative nonfiction fellow at the 2022 UST National Writers Workshop, and his essay Bokasyon won honorable mention at the 37th Gawad Estetika, the longest running campus literary derby nationwide. Please welcome 𝖫𝕬𝕬.
Everyone,
To the stream. Hello. Good
everyone.
afternoon. Good afternoon, Louis.
Hello, Chris. Happy to be here.
Thank you also for choosing 8 letters. Especially, is this your first time to be published? I mean, for a collection of stories, because you were,
Yes,
yeah. All right. So it's an honor for us to carry your book. So thank you for that in behalf of 8 letters. All right, so let's start first with the title Tikim. Okay, because this could it sounds a little sexy, okay, for me, Tikim our taste. So but from the blurb that was already launched, okay, from the book description, we know that this is not just about, it's not a recipe book, it's not a cooking book, okay, but why was this entitled Tikim? I mean, like, what's the connection
all
between
right.
food and the stories?
Okay. May lakbayin yan. No? The first title of the book did not push through. As I think it's not a secret naman. I tell people that this is the product of my studies. In fact, it was my MA thesis. The first title was actually Lasapin ang Linamnam Stories. And unfortunately, hindi siya nag-align, okay, dun sa may meat or the substance, okay, of the stories. And it's very obvious when you read the stories that the food there is not so immersive, no. If you study the tradition of literature that feature food, no. So if you take a look at poems, stories, novels, no, usually they're very immersive. Like, you will really be able to taste the food, no. I mean, it's so immersive, no. In my case, it's quite the opposite, and I only realized it while I was defending my MA thesis, ano. So I realized na my stories were panakaw or pabilisan yung tikim mo nung pagkain, ano. And so in that sense, that's my contribution to the tradition, no. It's the opposite, no. And all along nga sabi ko, bakit kaya hindi siya sobrang laki, no? Even if I try to deliberately change my writing style while I was writing the collection, I still could not do it, no. And maybe it has something to do with also my writing style in general, no. Especially when I write in English, restraint is really something that I do, okay, and I cannot seem to really go without it. Maybe it's because of nga the kind of training I've had, no? And so maybe that's the reason why ganun siya, no? And so kaya siya napunta sa Tikim. It's one of the titles that was recommended to me during the defense, and I credit sina Sir Joselito de los Reyes, Ma'am Jenny Ortuoste, and si Sir Chuck Berry Pascual. No? So they were the people who um, recommended to me one of the titles, yun yung Tikim, ano. And so that's how the title came out, and I think it's fitting because of the spirit of the project, no? So hindi siya talaga sobrang parang subong-subo kumbaga, no? But in our case, no, in the case of the book, talagang patikim siya, no? And you would want to read more in that case, ano? And I think that's what I want to do, no? I endeavor to do that, no? Na you would want to know more about what's happening, and you want the narrative to extend further, and ganun talaga yung pagiging deliberate ko, no. So ilang revision din to, no. So I'm glad that it pushed through, no, this title, and I hope that the readers appreciate it, ano. Baka kasi sinasabi nila, ay, this is like Laura Esquivel's Like Water for Chocolates. Unfortunately, it's not ganon, no. Yung 'di ba si Tita, no, the main character of that novel ay she cooks so that she could express herself, no. But the troublesome thing about this is that hindi siya ganon, ano, na sobrang para ka nagbudbud ng asin, nalasahan mo yung asin, ano, and then you're left to wanting for more, ano. And so ganun yung naging structure ko. I think it's similar but not the same when I write my other poems that feature food, or some essays that feature food, you know. But in my fiction, ano, ganun ako, no, I have restraint. Kaya ito yung pinaka-angkop. I think this is the most appropriate title, okay, for the collection. So this is Tikim. Thank you, Chris, for the question.
Alright. Ayun, no. Speaking of Tikim, kasi sabi mo nga puro patikim, ano. Ang ganda marketing spiel, no. If you want to know more, talk to Louie, okay? Or parang project mo, if you want to know more about this, expand it into a novel. I'm giving you ideas. Alright, so, yun nga, you mentioned that this is the result of your creative writing class, no? Is it graduate or post-grad na?
This is for my MA, so post-grad.
Okay, meron bang parang, I'm sure meron, no? But for the benefit of those who are watching, what's the difference, for example, of writing for the program versus writing for, wala ka na, for a contest, halimbawa?
All right. This is interesting. I'll share with you, no, the answer I gave si Sir Jack Wigley, yung prof ko noong time na yun. And that was my first term. Okay, that was my first term at the UST Graduate School. He was going around the room, asking everyone. Actually, in that class, almost everyone was a creative writing major, but save for one who was a literature major. And everyone was telling about why they were in the program. You know? And what did I answer? No, I told Sir Jack na I am the kind of person who needs more discipline. Personally, I have more of a discipline in terms of reading. Okay, so my natural predilection is really towards reading. The problem is when I decided to write, no, it's not so structured, no. The time that I have to go on in my room to sit down and write, no, walang ganon, no structure, no. So I had to develop some sort of discipline. And of course, when you talk about discipline, alliterative din siya, no, deadlines, ano. So I think that's what pushed me to write even more, no. It's because of the appearance of deadlines. And I remember I have classes na humihingi sila Wednesday night pa lang, hinihingi na agad yung first draft ng tula, for example, or ng essay, or ng short story. I remember, no, fiction 1 yon, Wednesday night, no. So ang klase namin ay Sabado ng tanghali, ano. And so I am forced, even if I have a full-time job, na I have to really devote time, no. I remember one other thing, no, that Ma'am Jing Hidalgo, one of my professors, said, you have to train yourself to write in whatever circumstance, no. So kaya I think if there's anything, I really needed the discipline. I really needed the structure, and I thought that pursuing an MA would be the best structure I could give myself, no. And so I did that, no. Maybe mas tutok siguro, maraming mga taong nagbabasa, no. You have a captive audience. you have a captive readership, no? In fact, your classmates have no choice. You guys are classmates with each other, no? So you're forced to really read other people's works, no? And you're forced to also learn. Ayoko naman gamitin yung word na force. Let's use the word learn. You will learn, okay? You will have to learn how to give proper feedback, no? And you have to also learn how to receive feedback, no? So I can still, remember the experiences na, nako, hindi pumapasa. Actually, there was a time, no, na one of my works, no, had to be wanted. My professor wanted to workshop it na, pero sabi niya hindi pwede at its state para mapapahiya lang daw ako. So really, it's like that, ano. Kaya sabi ko, talagang it's going through the process, no, and plenty of reading, no, guided reading at that, no. Of course, since it's an MA program, the stakes are higher. We're really expected to do proper readings, ano. Hindi lang siya yung basta-basta lang, no. Kaya of course we used to be neophytes, ganyan. Some of us kasi in the program, just to let you know, Chris, and to all of the viewers here, if you're wondering, are all the students in an MA creative writing program all creative writing majors in college, or literature majors, English majors, whatsoever? Let me tell the viewers right now, no, hindi. Everyone is welcome, no, to join, no. And you don't really need to have that, no. Of course, you will be asked, no, by the chairperson or the program lead to earn more units, no, for say literature courses or creative writing courses. May ganun, may difference na ganun. Parang sometimes the chairperson will say na, oh, I think based on your degree, so for example, you took up accountancy, tapos gusto mo magpuntang creative writing, maglalagay siya siguro 12 units of literature, ganyan. And it's for your benefit naman kasi that's going to give you the necessary background, ano. So in my case nga, no, sabi ko nga, education major kasi ako, no. I'm a high school English teacher by profession, ano. So mas marami akong units in education. I do have some units in literature, but my program lead told me na hindi siya sapat. So I had to take up additional 9 units pa of literature, no. So that's fine naman with me because it did give me the necessary training, ano. And I think yun, ano, lunod na lunod ka sa pagbabasahin, ano. That's something that I really, really remember, no. Talagang, besides, of course, writing, you have to really do reading. You're reading seriously, you know. It's just as many, well, hindi naman siya sobrang mas kasing dami nung writing, no, but you have to read voraciously talaga during the program, and you're not only reading for one class. For example, you're taking 2 classes, so you're reading 2 sets of readings, no. So may ganun, ano. So yun, and your classmates, yun ang nagustuhan ko. One of the things that I really loved about the program was the workshop style, ano. So laging talagang babad sa craft yung workshop, ano. So you have more attention towards your narration, ganyan. Nako, medyo madami kang mag-exposition, ganyan. You should add more description here, ganyan, ano. Sometimes, you know, your classmates will point out something that you will never realize unless you ask them, no. So they will tell you, bakit ang binabanggit mo lang ay yung tatay ng character? Why is the mother invisible, no? So those kinds of feedback, those comments, okay, or suggestions are really helpful, ano. And if there's anything I'm glad about is nakatanggap ako ng ganon, ano. So I think those are just some of the differences, no, about, you know, coming up with stories, poems, all sorts of things, ano. Even if you're a playwright and you wanna go, ganon din, eh, no. Parang you're going to workshop your scripts, screenplays, ganyan. So may ganon, ano. And I hope that viewers here who are wondering, you know, maybe you feel like you want to do it, you want to be a professional writer, ganyan. Parang you need the structure like me, di ba? Walang yung kailangan may deadline, no? Yung kailangan meron kang kausap, no? Sometimes kasi there are people who are like that, ano, who really need, no, some a partner, ganyan, some classmates, no, a mentor, ganyan. That's possible, no, in a program like this, ano. And I encourage you, no. It's also possible naman to go to other workshops. There are writers kasi who believe that just attending separate workshops, not necessarily in a program like ours, na may MA. No need. Merong ganon na they go to particular separate workshops, and they really blossom in that sense, because we have writers who are successful right now who are not really necessarily connected to the academe, and so may dalawa yon. You have to study yourself. Dear viewers, I hope you can study yourself also. Try to see if you're fit for that kind of environment, or if not, it's not saying naman na, ay, you're not part of a program like this, you're not going to succeed. No, it's not like that. No? So I hope the viewers out here will be able to study themselves and see if they want to do just that. In my case, talaga, I really needed it. No? And I think naman the discipline came out, na-develop siya. No? It grew on me. No? And so, ayun. Thank you very much, Chris, for the question.
Thank you also for sharing your experience. I also believe that, a creative writing program can help a writer kasi ngayon nga merong structure na ituturo, tapos yung kung ano man yung output, it's going to be carefully crafted, no? It's going to be carefully written. But not to say na yung mga wala doon ay hindi naman nakakapagsulat. You can, okay? But yeah, may added, ano ba yun, parang added bonus siguro, or added benefit kasi nga, there are people na who will be reading your work, and they're not just there to give you, ang tawag ito, parang praise. No? Sabi mo nga kanina, may very, very honest na nagsabi sa'yo na hindi pwede yung work mo at that time. So yun, maganda na share mo din siya. No? And that means, yung book na to, no, yung Tikim, talagang pinaghandaan siya, and maganda yung, kumbaga, ano man ang dinaanan nito, pwedeng rigorous talaga yung dinaanan niya na proseso, no? So, alam natin kung ano yung ine-expect natin, no, as a reader. Ganong klase ng trabaho, maingat, okay, pinag-isipan ang bawat kwento. Now, there are 6 stories in this collection. Which one is your favorite and which one is your least favorite?
Okay. Interesting question. Well, I have a story here that's as early as 2016 sinulat ko siya, no. So medyo neophyte pa ako noong time na yon. So maybe that's the least favorite of all. Let me just check na. Yung Sinuam is the least favorite, I think, no. Maybe because at the time wala pa akong masyadong training, and I just wrote what I wanted, no. It was not particularly a personal experience, so most of it, no, if not all of it, was a product of my imagination, but what really stuck with me during that time, no, that's the reason why I wrote it, no, is because of the dish that my mom makes, so yung sinuam nga, no, that's the one that I remember very fondly, no, at the time, no. In fact, that was a story that I wrote for a project, for college, and sad to say, no, tatlo kasi yung pinagpipilian nila, no, and my classmates chose one of the three, no, one of the other stories, and yung sa akin, I just shelved it, no, and it was only fairly recently when I went back to it and I said, sige, let's sit down and edit this thoroughly, so that's what I did, no, and that's what that's what made it publishable, I guess, no. I made it more publishable in that sense, so yun, that's the least favorite, no. My most favorite would be Milk. Okay, Milk. This was the first story I wrote after a long time of not producing fiction, no. There was a time kasi I had this I think 2 years yata ako, or 1 year, hindi naman siguro 2 years, a year's worth of lull, no, and I didn't write any fiction. I only wrote poetry. I only wrote essays, and after watching and reading about fiction, not fiction per se, but reading about fiction, that was the time I pushed through with it, no. Kasagsagan yun ng pandemic 2020, so I was really immersed in that scenario na nako maraming mamatay ganyan ano, may sakit ganyan. That's why in my head really the main character is supposed to be a doctor, no, and yun ano, and umikot siya doon sa what's the word, it's a frame story eh, di ba, na merong kwento si tatay na bedtime story to his kid, no, and that's what I wanted to do. And then yung fixation on wanting to drink the milk too, no, that's what I wanted to put in the story so that I could tell the reader na, hey, you know, kung pipiliin niya ni main character ay gusto na lang niya magstay, no, for the kid, no. But hindi ko na sasabihin yung iba, no, because I want the readers to read the story, ano, and I'm hoping, no, since it's one of my most favorite, in fact, it's probably the most favorite, even though it's long, very short, ano, quite short. It's parang ang length niya is like a flash fiction piece, ano, if others would qualify it as such, no, and I think that's the reason why maganda siya, no, yung imagery niya nung milk. It's for me one of the best that I have ever thought, no, even though it's simple, di ba, it's very simple na gatas lang siya, no. And I think that's what I have been doing all this time, no. I've been trying to really use so common imagery, no, na to try to problematize what it means to live, you know, what it means to be alone, no, and all that, no. Despite the lives that we live, no, meron din tayong ganun mga moments of isolation, ganyan. Trivia, my brother had this best friend from high school, no, and he's a doctor. One time when I wrote I think the second draft of Milk, he came across this status update of mine on Facebook kasi I was asking for feedback. At the time, my coursework was done. I was preparing for my comprehensive exam. So I had no one to talk to about my work, no? And he found my status update and he told me, send me the link, ganyan, I'll give you comments, ganyan. And since he's a doctor, sabi niya, nagkaroon siya ng feedback, no? And funnily enough, sabi niya sa akin, hindi ganyan magsalita ang mga doktor, ganyan. So even at that time, no, I'm done with my coursework, I'm doing my comprehensive exams, mali pa rin, ano? And I think I want to let my viewers know na really it's a process, ano? You have to undergo the process so that the work becomes more publishable. And thankfully after that, okay na siya. In fact, afterward, I edited it according to the comments of my brother's best friend, and I sent it to another anthology, no, and they accepted it, no. So nagulat ako at because of the lull nga, no, it's the lull, no. I did not write any short story, no, for a time, no, and afterward, yung pinakauna kong sinulat after that period of lull and silence in terms of writing fiction, it had some value, and I think that's the reason why yung story na yan, that's my most favorite story of all. The rest, they're still close to my heart. They're the product of my work naman, but I think this has a special place in my heart, no. Pakiramdam ko when I was writing Milk, na parang 50% I was conscious of what I was writing and 50% of the time parang unconscious, no. I was putting what I felt was were the right details, no, in that story, no. And so that's my favorite, no, my most favorite story. Thank you, Chris.
Excuse me, ang ganda nung sinabi mo dun sa, example mo dun sa brother mo. Kasi, many writers, magandang tip yun eh, kasi many writers din naman, especially yung mga nagsisimula pa lang, they write, siguro they don't think of a character as to how that character would write in real life. So, tama yun, no? Like, how would the doctor say those things? Kasi sometimes we try to, ano ba tawag doon? Parang, sinusulat natin siya with a certain style na akala natin. That's how it should be done. Very literary, maybe, no? So, nakakatawa na may ganun ka pa palang experience. So, talagang sumala. No? So, sabi mo nga, may proseso, sumala ito sa ganyan. So, how many years or yung total lang, how many years ba yung parang working period nitong book mo?
5 years. So, half a decade.
5 years.
Can you
My
imagine?
gosh.
Diba?
5 years, pero stories pa lang yun, ha? Hindi siya yung novel, okay? So, na ano naman ako doon. Yung mga, I'm asking kasi, di ba, yung sa mga nagsusulat, di ba, yung mga nakikinig sa atin, if you want to write a book, you don't have to hasten the process. So, like si Louis, 5 years. Pero talagang pinag-isipan, pinagandaan niya. Okay? So, well, kung nakakapagsulat kayo in 3 months, okay lang yon. Pero, di
Oo.
ba? Pero, padaanin natin dun sa proseso na talaga. Nakita natin yung may mga loopholes na or plot holes na natabunan na, naayos natin. So, maganda yung in-example mo na yan. I think a lot of aspiring writers would learn from your experience. Okay, now at this point, let's give our viewers a patikim of Tikim. Okay, so I asked you to prepare an excerpt that you want to read. Okay, and then as we close the program, we will invite our viewers. Pero syempre, bigyan natin ng something to look forward to, no? Without the big, huge spoilers. Okay, sige. Take it away, Louie.
Okay. I mentioned earlier that I wanted to. My favorite story here is Milk. No. The previous title is Sleep is a Truce, Dreams it's Soccer. But I think to make it more whole, no, the collection, I renamed it as Milk. And in any case, the central image here is milk. So let me read to you an excerpt from that story. I switched off the lights of his room. Even in the dark, I saw little Danny's chest fill with air as he slept soundly. My phone vibrated in my pocket. A call. Dr. Erica, we need you ASAP. COVID patients. He paused to catch his breath. We just confirmed an outbreak in the wards. Kalalabas lang ng tests from the labs. They're quickly filling up the COVID floor. Heavy breathing could be heard from the other end of the line. Doc? Hello, Doc. Are you on your way na, Doc? I remembered seeing Danny in deep slumber. I remembered how safe and secure he looked with his planets and stars, like he floated in the vastness of space with no gravity to pull him down. I remembered my made-up, unfinished mermaid story. I wished it would be just like that forever. I hadn't even decided if she was really a mermaid or a siren in disguise, what song she wanted to sing next, and if she would ever fall in love with a hermit who loved nothing but the sea and his daydreaming, his imagination. I wanted to gulp down what little was left of the milk, with all its deep, creamy vanilla goodness, the same way Danny did, to drift and be lulled to dreamland myself, weaving tales I would inhabit. But I couldn't. I just couldn't. I'm on my way. Thunder boomed from a distance. A bright streak of light lit the dark hallway of our home. The splatter of rainfall could be heard from across the hallway, from Danny's room to the front door. I put on my trench coat and prayed to God. He needs to hear the rest of the story. Let me tell it to him, please. Thank you.
Grabe ang ganda ng imagery. Yung, of course, nabasa ko na siya, pero while listening, na-imagine ko talaga siya nagpi-play. Pati yung paggamit din ng mga certain words, onomatopoeic. May onomatopoeic effect. So, nakakatuwa na, the style is really, of course, I've read a lot, but the style is really different. And I'm not sure how, of course, I haven't read your previous works, but I'm not sure how much you've experimented style wise. gaano, kumbaga sa on a scale of 1 to 10, gaano na naiba yung style mo sa pagsusulat dito sa Tikim based from, say, the very first story you've written?
Hmm, ako talaga, no, more and more, no, as the years go by, really I'm more verbose now, I think, no, especially because I started writing in Filipino also. So when you read my works in Filipino, even my poems in English, medyo may pagka malakas yung pagkaka-expose yung exposition ko, no. So medyo malakas yung telling, but I think I get away with it, no. Sometimes I get away with having plenty to say, no, even if I don't show that much. It's because probably I want to speak to the heart, no. So may ganun akong concept, no. But really, when I write fiction, I cannot help, no, but restrict myself, no. In terms of economy of words, no, kailangan maiiksi, no, short, sparse, ano. So that's the style that I have had, no. Maybe it's also because of my exposure to what I have read, no. Let me tell my viewers, ano, I don't want to tell you na wala naman akong binabasa at ganito na lang ako magsulat bigla-bigla, no. No. I want you to I want to say to you guys na I had to do some reading also, no. Before you write, you have to be a good reader, di ba? So I started off with reading sina Haruki Murakami, sina Hemingway, in particular, kaya rin talaga very stoic, quote and quote, sometimes, no, yung tone ng boses ng narrative, no, lalo na pag third person yung point of view ko. It's probably because of my exposure to Hemingway, you know. Even kina Haruki Murakami na very restricted din siya sa language niya, no. So those are just some of my two foreign authors, the favorite authors ko. Maybe right now kasi my favorite kasi is Kazuo Ishiguro, no, who is one of our Nobel Prize winners. Sa Filipino naman, iba rin, no? Pero madami sa maikling kwento, ganun din sila, no? Medyo may restraint din sila, no? So people like Butch Talisay, Jing Hidalgo, these are writers that I admire. And medyo din sila, no? They hold themselves back, no? And let the story tell itself, ano? So ako kasi ganun ako, no, ganun yung mga model ko, no. But right now, no, when I read, ako kasi ngayon binabasa ko si Luwalhati Bautista. I'm reading her Bata-Bata Paano Ka Ginawa, no. It's a completely different organism, no. The book is different, talagang sabi ko, ang lakas nung the narrator is very strong. Ang lakas nung the telling of the narrator, the truth of it, the rawness of it all, no. Parang ganun yung napapansin ko. And sabi ko, it works, no. It works, no. So I guess that's the gravity or the gravitas of the story, you know. And I really cannot say na this is my individual talent. Yung sabi ni T.S. Eliot, di ba, na you cannot take the credit for your own work, ano. You are the product, or you are the sum of all the writers you have read, no. So I guess that's the reason why ganito ako ngayon, ano, magsulat, ano. That's the difference. Maybe later on, ano, I think we can share the link to my link tree later, no, to show my readers how different I write, no, in terms of sa tula, sa may sanaysay ngayon, tapos sa may short story din, no. Medyo may pagkaiba din ako, lalo nung nag-switch ako ng language, ano. Talagang iba din yung galawan ko, no. So ganun. I strive when I write in English, ano, it's as if, and this is unconscious, no, medyo may pagka-unconscious conscious siya, na I feel like I restrict myself, no. Ganun siya, no. I hold back, no, pag in English ako nagsusulat. Pero sa Filipino, pakiramdam ko, medyo mas malaya yung puso ko na magsalita, no, magsabi ng saloobin, ano. So maybe that's how I do it. That's why I show more than tell in English, no. In Filipino, it's the opposite, no. I tell more than I show, but I still strive, no, to keep on showing, and I strive to keep my language even simpler in Filipino. No, I try to do that, no, and I cross-reference it with dictionaries and such. No. So those are just some of the notable differences. My dear viewers, ano, if you have tawag dito, the desire to buy a copy, um, I, I know that you will find this launch as valuable in terms of how I wrote this and what was my intention, etc., etc. But I hope that you can also trust yourself. No? I want to trust my readers that you would be able to understand what I've been trying to say. No? So I leave it up to you also. No? The reading process is never complete without the reader, of course. So I want to empower you also na wag kayong aasa lang dito sa sinabi ko. I hope that on your own, you can also come up with your own readings, analyses of my work, and that's about it, Thank you, Chris.
All right. Tikim is very much like the sum of your experiences, of what you learned in MA, and of course, how you were shaped or influenced by your favorite authors. And idagdag na natin yung kung ano man yung uh, mararamdaman o malalaman ni reader, kasama na yon sa kumbaga buong composition no, ng Tikim stories. All right, and patapos na tayo for the first part of Book Talk with Cindy. Let's invite our viewers to buy the copy of your book, and where can they contact you? Halimbawa, gusto magpa-autograph, okay, saan ang iyong social media page?
All right. Thank you, Chris. And also, my dear viewers, I'm inviting you to buy a copy of Tikim Stories. This is my first book of short fiction. Um, for now, maglalabas din ako, no? Very soon, no, I'm going to release um, a Google form, no, asking for those who would like to have autographed copies of the book. Yun sa muna sa ngayon. You can reach me, 𝖢𝖾𝗇𝖽ki𝖾 lang yun. Yun yung may separate work account, no? I will put it up as a public post, no, very soon. And then later on, once the copies of the book, the team and I, no, we will work on it, no. Once the copies are available, then we'll release, no, the details, no, about the book itself, especially yan, yung presyo, yan. Nakalagay naman pala dyan, yung presyo, and then we will be able to um, iron out the details soon, So, yun. For now, yun na muna. Yung mga shipping muna, yung mga fee, I'll have to study, yung rates pagkagaling sa akin, But for now, yun na muna. I would like to invite you to buy copies, and if you feel like there are people in your circle, your social circle, who would also enjoy the book, invite them also to read it, I hope that you will find it valuable, to you, and I hope that it can touch your heart also. Kahit patikim siya. I know that that sounds strange, but I think if you read the book for yourself, you will be able to taste it, whatever that patikim is. Okay? Thank you very much, everyone. Happy to be here, Chris. Thank you also to your team, sa 8
Thank you.
Thank you
You're
for
welcome. You're welcome, Louie, and thank you again. Ang dami kong thank you, but sincere yun. Sobrang thank you because kasi nga alam ko very special talaga tong work na to sa'yo, tong akta na to. And we would be happy to distribute it to as many readers na pre-order. Okay. And alam ko na hindi pa ito ang huling akda. Alam ko marami ka pang gustong akdang isulat. And hopefully, we can work together again. All right. So thank you, thank you. And those who watched the first part, thank you so much. Okay. I will see you in 20 minutes for Alma Anona Scarpio's How to Tame Your Tikbalang Without Even Trying. Bye, everyone. Or should I say see you later? See you later, guys. Hello again, everyone. If you're still here, thank you for waiting. Like I said, kanina, we're going to have a back-to-back launch, a back-to-back book launch. And for this hour, we are featuring, I would say, a spicy hot book. Okay. Siguro kanina baka nakita nyo na yun naka-project, no? So may idea, may konti kayong idea, like what's going to come. Pun intended. Okay. Pun intended. So I don't know if there are kids listening, okay, time to cover your ears. And for those who are with us today, give us some love and share this live stream. Thank you in advance. Now, I've been an avid reader of mythology, like Greek mythology, Roman mythology, and of course Filipino mythology. But if there's something I have not yet explored, it's what happens when a babaylan finds herself a tikbalang to tame. And I'm sure I'm dying to know. I'm sure you're also dying to know. And fortunately, we have the author with us to tell us the answer. Okay, the author of How to Tame Your Tikbalang Without Even Trying is Alma Anones Carpio, who is a journalist and has been one for more than 2 decades. She pens poetry and fanciful fiction between deadlines. Her feet got set on the writer's path by her mother, who told her that if she didn't like the real world, she could create a world she likes better in her head. So later on, we'll ask, paano ba nagkaroon ng tikbalang and nababayalan together? Okay? Paano niya naisip yun? Okay? Alma's foray into writing erotica was spurred by a need to write something that was as different from news reportage and analysis and poetry as it is possible to get. Alright, so without further ado, let's welcome Alma Anones Carpio. Hello, Alma.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to 8 Letters.
It's good. Thank you for having me. It is good to see, you. And hopefully the people who will see us, or me. I'm so excited to launch my book here to the local market, and it's just, this is my first book launch. I'm sorry, I'm giddy. So.
Okay lang yan. You look gorgeous.
Thank you. The makeup took 30 minutes.
Now, dun tayo sa, sige, let's start with the hard questions. the hard questions.
Yeah. Well, I like them hard, so.
Yes. I like them hard too. Okay. So
the harder the better. Yes.
My goodness. Okay, I'm gonna lose my job after this. So,
hopefully not.
Wag naman. Okay. All right. So, your book is bold and controversial. Okay, and kung doon sa mga hindi pa nakakaalam, kasi this was launched before na rin, internationally. But can you give us a background of what this book is about? Then, sige, bigyan mo na rin kami ng parang idea, gaano ka-hot yung book na.
Okay. If you're talking about internationally launched, yes, I put it up on Amazon as an indie author. But this is also going to be launched in Germany later in the year. So it was picked up by a small press there called Aerographa. About my work being bold and controversial, I don't think I'm in the position to say that, really. But if by bold and controversial you mean it's full of wanton and gratuitous sexual content, yes, there's a lot of sex in this book. And I wrote How to Tame Your Tikbalang for several reasons. The first being, I wanted to write something that was not poetry, not reportage, or anything like what I write every day for a living. I was also, at the time I was writing the drafts of this novel, I was tending to my husband who had suffered 3 strokes. His name is 𝕿𝕴𝕸, and he'd been bedridden after we brought him home from the hospital. So there were huge hospital bills. I had to hold down my day job as an editor for a news weekly magazine, and whatever other side jobs I could get to fill in the finances needed for my husband's daily care, for his medicines, and so on and so forth. It was a very trying time, and writing this novel gave me a bit more confidence in my abilities as a writer, as a person, because this is the first novel I completed. I wanted to finish this because 20 years before this novel, before I started writing this novel, I had started a fantasy novel that I never got past chapter 3 with. So this was something my husband and I were discussing way back before he had his stroke. And he was telling me, you need to finish a book. You need to show yourself, maybe not the world, but yourself, that you can finish something you start. Especially a novel. It's not easy to write these things, pero tapusin mo naman. Or write a new one and finish it. So, my husband was pretty much my sounding board, and he was the person who had first dibs on the drafts. And it sort of gelled our relationship even more. He had suffered aphasia, which is he could not speak. No, they had to give him a tracheostomy. His language center was damaged by 3 strokes. Tatlong magkakasunod yon. And my reading to him was also part of rebuilding his language center so he could learn to speak again. And when my husband started commenting using Filipino Sign Language, which he was fluent in before the strokes, nagkaroon ako it encouraged me to keep on going. And I mean, I again got writer's block at chapter 3 of How to Tame Your Tikbalang. And on a day that I skipped reading him part of the draft, or a newly written part of the draft, he signed to me, "Where's my story? Where is it?" And it kept me going. It kept me putting one word after another until I finished the novel, the first draft. And I managed to complete that first draft just weeks before my husband died in 2014. When he died, that novel pulled me out of my grief. I had to get out of my comfort zone on so many levels. It was my way of getting out of my head. And I just had to keep on going. I just kept going back over the last story my husband and I shared, which is How to Tame Your Tikbalang, as a way to vent the grief. It also became my bridge to rediscovering myself as an individual and the way of moving forward without Relly. This was my reassertion of my own strength, of my own competence as Alma, not as Alma, wife of Relly, but as Alma, the writer. No, my daughters still needed their mother. I couldn't give up. This book was my way of putting one foot after another. In a way, it also worked to sublimate my natural and very strong libido. I was in my 30s, and it's usually when women hit their sexual peak. And I was missing the intimacy, the sex my husband and I enjoyed. And this was very integral to our marriage. But I couldn't see myself in another relationship because my husband was just perfect for me. No, in this book, he's Tala. Okay, I'm Buhawi. But as far as the characters' personalities go, and no man could compare to my husband. No man can compare to my husband up to now. It's been several years since he passed. So, it was in a way catharsis, I would say. No? So, yan. Editing the book, refining it, laying it out, it helped me stay busy. It helped me express myself in a way that I hadn't done before. And in a way, How to Tame Your Tikbalang was my lifeline.
Ang lalim nung yung pinanggalingan ng How to Tame Your Tikbalang.
Hugot talaga.
Yeah.
Hugot talaga. Oo.
And dami ding layers din kasi nga you mentioned the death of Rayleigh. Okay.
Relly. Yeah.
Relly.
Relly. RELLY.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad din na you were honest and to say na parang you wrote this, you missed sex, ganyan. Is this like a love song or a love letter to your marriage then? Parang an ode to it?
Maybe you could say it was a love novel. Haba-haba eh. My husband actually used to hide love letters in my bag, in my boots. So, and I still keep finding them up to now. Kasi tamad ako mag-ayos ng bahay. So, and I dumped all of his things, all of his notebooks in bins. And I'm glad that this book gave me the opportunity to, give him a love letter. I mean, my husband liked stories with sex in them. Okay? It was that and stories with pictures. So, we shared that. And it has given me a lot of strength. I didn't think I had that.
I think I can also say that many of us like to read the stories with sex. Okay, with passion. Okay, and if there's one thing na nakalimutan ko na itanong sa'yo sa initial natin na pag-uusap, bakit why did you use characters from mythology? Like, why is it a tikbalang? Why is it a babaylan? Why not like two regular people?
Okay. This goes back a very long way. When I was a little kid in grade school, I was probably in the 2nd or 3rd grade. I used to like cutting classes to go to the library. And then, since may reference section yung library at hindi pwede ang below 5th grade doon sa reference section, I was small and I liked sneaking under the tables to, grab the reference books which had the stories of mythology, Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Norse mythology, Egyptian mythology, Indian mythology. And one day I just went to the librarian, Miss Itliong, and I said, "Where's the Philippine mythology?" With all the hubris of a very short, very demanding child. And she said, "We don't have any." I was very saddened by that. And my yayas used to scare me. When I was a kid, kids were told to take naps at between noon and 3 p.m. And I also like wearing very short shorts because I like climbing trees and I like running around like any other little kid, no? And my yayas used to scold me na pag hindi ka natulog ng nap mo, may tikbalang na kukuha sa'yo. Or may itim na duwending kukuha sa'yo. They used the creatures of lore as boogeymen. And she would tell me na, ganyan kaikli yung shorts mo? Naku, huwag ka lalabas ng gabi kasi baka ma-rape ka ng tikbalang. I didn't know what rape was. I was like, what's that? So when I asked my mother about that, the yaya got fired. I got a new yaya. But the new yaya also still used the creatures of lore and mythology to scare me. And it got so bad that whenever I'd hear a kalesa pass our street, may mga kalesa pa noon, this was 70s, 80s, I literally would sit bolt upright in bed, then, run out of my room, sisingit ako sa magulang ko, wala akong pake kung ayaw nila ng may paningit dahil bunso ako, and I'd be like, I'm scared, may dumaan na kabayo, may dumaan na tikbalang. Okay, so I had to take that primal fear of mine and deal with it in some way. So that's that's why I use the creatures of our myth and lore. I want to demystify them. I want to see them as as individuals, as people. Okay, I don't want to see them as monsters or boogeymen to be feared. So this is why I wrote How to Tame Your Tikbalang. And yes, because my yaya said that Tikbalang was a rapist, I wanted to bigyan naman ng hustisya yung Tikbalang, baka naman hindi. Diba?
Yeah.
So,
there was I think a movie in the 90s that showed yung Tikbalang is parang naka-associate din siya sa sex din eh.
Yes.
Mystifying. So nakakatawa.
Actually, the Tikbalang is very associated with sex. When I was a reporter, sinuswerte akong may provincial assignment ako, I'd look for the people who could tell me stories about our lore wherever I went, or I'd look up the little libraries, baka merong libro dito na wala sa Maynila, you know. And the little fragments of lore I could piece together. The Tikbalang was, the oldest lore I found is that the Tikbalang was a guardian spirit. And yes, the Tikbalang was very libidinous. Okay? But definitely in that lore, I didn't see the Tikbalang as a rapist. But, you know, as you get to know your history a little better, I realized that during the colonial period, the early part of the colonial period, the Spanish colonizers who were converting people to Christianity and taking us away from our pagan roots, from our own native beliefs, they were basically demonizing the creatures of lower mythology. They were demonizing our gods or converting them into saints, okay, so that they could Catholicize or Christianize the Philippines. And it was also a tool of conquest, the cultural erasures. So, in a sense, How to Tame Your Tikbalang is a reaction to that. I want to dig a little further because myth and lore, it tells the story of how people explain the world. It tells the story of how they saw themselves in the context of their environment, of their communities. Okay? It tells us about their mores. It tells us about their hopes and their dreams. The fact that our lore is in tatters, and wala kang mahanap halos ng buong kwento from our lore, already denies us that rootedness in our cultural identity. Now, it's been more than 4 centuries. It's been 5 centuries since we were colonized. So even the history of the colonizer gets tied up with ours. But to have one part missing, para kang sinabihan na, sige maglakad ka pero kulang ka ng isang binte. Diba? Paano ka lalakad? So I wanted to fill in those gaps. I wanted to find whatever truths I could through fiction. You know, like extrapolate na ganito siguro ninuno natin. No? And our culture, our pre-colonial culture was very, how do you put it? They didn't seem to have the same kieme we do now about sex. Sex was normal to them. It was a celebration of life. It was part and parcel of your community life and, you know, part and parcel of your life as an adult. And it was nothing to be ashamed of and nothing to, how do you put it? It was nothing to feel bad about. No? As things stand now, I was a health journalist, and when I would report on reproductive and sexual health, alam mo yung, I would see adults, my age, older, looking at my reports and giggling like little kids. You use the word penis. I'm like
why?
It's a scientific term.
Yeah.
Why? Don't show a guy you like him because you're going to look malande. O tapos? I mean, really now, so many complications happen when you're dishonest with yourself about things like your sexuality and things like what you want out of life, including what kind of sex you enjoy. You don't have to tell everybody. Okay, it's not naman don't broadcast it if you don't want to. You have privacy. You can keep your privacy, but to feel ashamed, even, you know, internally of your sexuality, that's another. It's another way that we were colonized. Our minds were colonized, and I don't like that. I never wanted to be dishonest about even that, because when you're dishonest, when you tell lies like that, you open yourself up to so many things that will potentially damage you, potentially put you at risk. No, I think a good, honest discussion about sexuality should be on the table the way our ancestors had it, at least, or so I think, or so that's what I got from my research.
It's not even, Alma, it's not even shock value. It's been there, or it was there, and you as a writer just had to parang bring it out,
I wanted to bring it out. I wanted to open that discussion. Diba? Kasi this is also why I say this book is R18. If you're younger than 18, please don't read it. But if you're 18 and older, sure, by all means read it. Diba? I wanted the book to be honest in its tone. It's fiction, sure. I'm telling a made-up story. But there are truths that you can tell even in fiction, and they'll still hold true, no? So those were the things I wanted to interrogate in How to Tame Your Tikbalang.
It's not just erotica. Paano ba? Parang
well, erotica was the vehicle.
Yeah, but it's not to show lang na this is about sex and whatever.
It's
Ang
not
daming laman,
just it's not just about sex, but I didn't want to make it didactic. I wanted the people to enjoy a story. Like, I want you to be able to, yes, get lost in the story, explore my universe, explore the world I built, explore the characters, interrogate the characters. I didn't want to be preaching to people, hoy, dapat wala kayong keme, ganyan. No. That's not the way I like doing things. I prefer to, bring people along for a ride. Let me show you the sights. Let me open up a show for you. Okay?
And you were able to achieve that with this book. Now, Alma, ang dami mo na kasing na-research, your profession kasi as a journalist, talagang, kumbaga, expected din sa'yo na to know a lot about things and to know a lot about this, this book. Has this book parang changed you in a way pa ba? Or wala na? Parang, hindi, alam ko na lahat to. Ganon.
I wouldn't say alam ko lahat. I will never say alam ko lahat. The more you learn, the more you find out you don't know enough. Okay? And I don't think writing How to Tame Your Tikbalang has changed me so much as it has brought me to a place or places in my psyche, in my mind, that I was not able to access before I began writing the book, began working on it. This is an interrogation of our lost lore and the cultures and ethnic beliefs that were lost with that lore. It's an interrogation of how our ancestors, the natives, saw the world around them, explained things to themselves, how sex fit into that whole, how different that was from how my Basque/Spanish ancestors saw the natives and what they did to colonize this archipelago, culturally, in terms of religion, and physically. This book was my way of coming to terms with my ancestry. I'm mostly native and part mestiza Chino, no, with Basque and Chinese ancestry in my veins, with probably Mexican ancestry in my veins, and the other parts of my ancestry, madaling i-track down yung roots mo yung pinanggalingan mo. But the native part, my goodness, it was such an effort. It took me 20 years of searching, and I'm still researching up to now. No? It's a way of dealing with the keme I have to face as a journalist when it comes to discussing psychosocial issues to do with sex and reproductive health. It's a way of dealing with my own keme. I have my own biases and my own inhibitions when it comes to sex. I'm not exempt from that. And so I decided to push myself out of my comfort zone and try to write erotica and probably try to make it romantic, even if romance is not my strong suit. So, yun. The challenges naman for this book, madami siya. So I can probably give you the top 3 challenges. First, I was caring for my husband who was bedridden, and his medical expenses were, I was drowning in bills, basically. And I was holding down a full-time job and as many rackets as I could get just to meet those bills, meet the household bills, and eventually meet the tuition for twins for college. Nearly killed me, but I'm still here, so I guess what doesn't kill you, gives you more grist for the mill. Second, I had never finished a full-length novel. Suntok sa buwan talaga tong nobela kong to. And when I hit the writer's block at chapter 3, I just pushed on ahead because my husband wanted more of the story. So I put my research skills and the internet to good use while I was, writing, refining, and editing this book. because I wanted the lore to be as solid as I could make it. Finally, I had to get over my own biases and come to terms with my own sexuality because I had to write the sex scenes. They're not a confessional though. My characters have their own sexual tastes that do not mirror mine. Hindi kasama dito yung sex life namin ng asawa ko. I will put that out there because that's private and I like it that way. And my mother actually would see me trying to see if a certain position or a certain set of movements was possible, including sexual positions. And more often than not, she'd come into my writing cave and see me with my butt in the air. And we had a good laugh about that. It was a bit embarrassing, but hey, I needed to be able to write this thing. So, and I'm glad I was able to finish it.
Parang ikaw na yata yung second author na nagsabi sa akin. May parang dine-demonstrate, kahit pag-isa ka lang, dine-demonstrate yung possessions. Kasi ini-imagine ko how it's like eh.
Well, the thing is, okay, I also like going on an erotica website called lit-erotica, and I would see comments on the stories posted there of people who actually tried to replicate the sexual acts done in the fiction they would read. So it hit me na, yeah, there might be people who might try these positions. I'm going to have to see if these are physically possible because baka may masaktan. No? Kailangan responsable ako. I have to have some level of responsibility. No? And also, for the fight scene, I'm a martial artist. So, in order for me to narrate the fight scene, to give the third-person narrator's point of view, I needed to know what the movements were like. Okay? So, if I couldn't execute the move, that didn't go into the fight scene. So, this is how I did the action and sex scenes of my novel. And it was physically taxing, but it was worth it because at least I was able to, pin down in my head, okay, si Buhawi pivots this way. This is what it feels like when he strikes with his fist at Kidlat and all that. This is what it feels like when he does a superhero landing on top of the pavement and his brother lands on his car, So, ganon.
And at least siya, logical din yung approach.
Oo, kailangan logical siya. Because just because it's fiction doesn't mean that you're going to Deus Ex Machina the hell out of it. You can't do Deus Ex after Deus Ex and have the reader still believe the story. Diba? You need the reader to suspend their disbelief and keep suspending that disbelief until the end. The book has to be believable even if it's fiction. So, at least for me, that's what I like to read.
This is Fiction Writing 101 with Alma Anumasatyo.
Sorry, lumilitaw ba yung pagiging literary editor ko? But,
yes.
but that's what I look for in books, no? So, syempre, kung yun ang gusto ko sa libro, yun ang ibibigay ko din sa readers ko. I mean, I'm already doing so much otherworldly, work in the book. You have a Tikbalang, you have a Babaylan, you have creatures of lower Philippine mythology. The rest of the book has to make sense, diba? You have to get the reader to believe that this is possible, that if he or she ran into Buhawi or Tala or Kidlat on the street or in the mall at nagpakilala siya, diba? Maniniwala kang siya si Tala, yun si Buhawi, yun si Kidlat. Diba?
Yeah, it shows also your discipline as a writer kasi nga ganyan eh. I mean, marami kasi yung nagsusulat, parang ini-imagine lang lahat, pero pag when you really think about it doesn't really make sense. So, tama ka dun sa... And those little things knock me out of a book eh. Yung pagka nasira yung... When the fourth wall is broken, and it's not broken right, no? It's like, okay, I'll put down the book. I won't pick it up again. So, I want people to read my book to the end naman. Sige, magpapakabait ako sa readers ko, di ba? Kasi sabi mo kanina din, punta tayo dun sa scenes mo. Try out ka ng sexual positions. You tried out, all fight scenes. Which one was more difficult to write?
Some of the sex scenes, because some of them involved sexual acts that I have absolutely no taste for. Okay, like the cure for tiyanak blood poisoning sex scene where they had to do anal sex. I went through a year of my life when I was severely constipated and my mother had to keep putting suppositories up my butt. So anything to do with something going up my butt is like, I want to have a tattoo put right over my butt that says, "Salida sola, no entrar." That's Spanish for exit only, no entry. Okay? I really looked at things like, I looked at sexual acts, kinks, whatever that would not be within my comfort zone, because writing is not about being in your comfort zone. Okay, it's about putting yourself in your character's shoes. It's about telling a story that is completely outside of your ego. So, and it was my vacation from real life, so it had to be completely outside of myself, except maybe for some traits of the main characters, which I took from people I knew, I took from myself, I took from my husband. Okay.
This book is about pushing boundaries.
It's about pushing boundaries. It was about pushing myself when I was so tired. Tired is not the correct word. I was exhausted. I was spent. And I wanted to see, meron pa ako ibubuga? Kasi kung meron pa ako ibubuga, pwede ako bumangon bukas. Kaya. No? And I finished it. I was like, when I finished it, I was, dancing around inside our bedroom. My husband was dancing along with me with his left hand and his head and one foot. And I was like, babe, I done it. It was great. It was a great feeling. Then I had to go into the editing, which was like, oh my God, I'm plunged in editor hell kasi ang dami kong typos. Ang dami kong salto. And my husband was just laughing at me, watching me correct the copy. Kasi I had the laptop, I was in the room beside him while I was writing and editing it. Okay, so I wrote it while he slept, and I read it to him when he woke up. Ganon yon.
You have twins,
Yes, I have twin daughters.
The twin towers, okay. And
the
this
twin
is
towers.
Your third child. Meron ka bang parang favorite dito sa third child, or least favorite na element dito?
Scenes? Well, okay, my favorite scene here, funnily enough, is not a sex scene. My favorite scene here was when Tala and Buhawi first meet face to face in a cafe. And she nearly bumps into Buhawi and she says, "Big person, don't eat me." Because I'm short, I'm 5'2". And it was a phrase I actually uttered to an interview subject. Nawapoys ako ng todo kasi when I approached him to start the interview, of course, polite yung mama, tumayo. And he kept standing up and standing up and standing up until my nose was level with his belly button. Just about. And I felt so short and I'm like, oh my God, ang laking tao nito, huwag mo akong kainin. Big person, don't eat me. Talagang that horror of, oh my God, I'm so small. So, it stuck with me and I promised myself I'd put that phrase in a story someday. So that was my perfect opportunity for that. I mean, I loved that moment. I really felt that moment. And the other scene that's my favorite scene was the wedding. Diba? They like saying na pag umuulan at umaaraw, may kinakasal na tikbalang.
Yeah.
And they keep saying that. I keep hearing that. And I'm like, paano kinakasal ang tikbalang? Diba hindi naman Katoliko yan? Paano ba yan? Okay? So that's why I had to come up with a babaylan priestess who would do the ceremony and all that. I had so much fun making that wedding, that chapter that was the wedding. And bringing in all the creatures, the aswangs, the shokoy, the nuno. I was like, yeah, playground. My least favorite scene was the anal sex
The
scene.
anal. Mhm.
Okay, and
Yeah.
I've already told you why. So, yan.
So ito nga yung pagka-complete mo nung first book for How to Tame Your Tikbalang. Kumbaga fit na siya kasi nga sabi mo nga nagkaroon ka ng writer's block. Pero nagkaroon ka rin ng sequel. Parang can you give us a sneak preview of that sequel?
Okay. The sequel is How to Ride Your Tikbalang into a Lather. And I wrote it to prove to myself that How to Tame was not a fluke. I could do this novel thing. Okay, I wanted to see if I could actually finish another novel. It's actually 2 chapters longer than How to Tame. Okay, and I finished it and I've edited it and I'm very happy that I did this. It is spicier than How to Tame because How to Ride posits what happens when a tikbalang, a bayot, or a male babaylan and a diwata walk into a bar. And they become a bisexual threesome. That's what. It's everybody has sex with everybody. Two dudes and a girl. And this is the redemption story of Kidlat, who was the villain in How to Tame. No, naawa naman ako na kawawa naman si younger brother, 'di ba? Paborito ng magulang niya si Buhawi. He's like middle child and all that. So, and Kidlat meets his forever in the persons of Kokoy, who is the bayot, and Jinx at a kinky supernatural bar in Manila called Pepe's Pole, where aswangs, tikbalangs, diwatas, nunos, and other creatures of Philippine lore mythology mix with the Tagalupa and enjoy their nights out. Kidlat in this novel had already made his peace with being gay, and he'd already come out to his parents, and he was getting hot and heavy on the dance floor with Kokoy when, Jinx gets thrown into the Kidlat and Kokoy manwich. And Kidlat finds out that, surprise, you're bi. I want them both. What's this? So it explores that. I wanted to try making threesome erotic romance, MMF, bisexual threesome erotic romance because, hell, why not?
I love that.
Would be fun.
I love that. Hell, why not? Hindi, tsaka lumalaki na rin yung universe eh. And, to be honest with you, kasi nga I read parts of your book while I was away from for a trip. Ano bang tawag dito? I felt things.
You felt things? Hindi mo naman feel ako sampalin. Bastos.
No. Kaya sabi ko, grabe kasi descriptive, okay. And may mga talaga doon ito talaga yung word na ginagamit natin. So wala nang care. Pero
yes, actually, wow. I love using our vulgar words in Filipino, in Spanish, in English. I love being able to use those in text.
But they don't sound...
I have a very salty vocabulary.
They don't sound... Ano bang tawag dito? They don't sound bastos eh. Siguro it's because how you incorporated them into the text.
I wanted to make it as natural as possible. I wanted the dialogue to be as natural as possible. Like, you'd hear this, this is natural, normal dialogue when people are having sex or they're horny and they want to have sex. Okay? There is no formality. Sex is not polite. Okay? When you're poking someone with your thing or getting poked by someone's thing, it isn't a polite thing. Okay? So it's that, and I wanted the earthiness to just be an organic part of the story. I want that for my work when I write erotica.
Can you give us an example or whatever scene you chose for us today? Para meron tayong may idea yung viewers natin yung earthy. Earthy, salty.
All right.
Right.
Earthy, salty. No, I chose an excerpt that's not earthy or salty, but there is it was a challenge for me to write the diary of Tala's ancestor Beatriz de la Lopa Bienvenido, because Spanish usage, but I had to transpose it into English. So this is my hat tip to Jose Rizal, because I had to read his novels in Spanish because my Tagalog back in high school wasn't good. I couldn't read in Tagalog, and we were assigned Noli and Fili, required reading and all that. And so my mother had copies of the Spanish version, the original Spanish text of the novels. So those are what I read. And in a way, I just wanted to, hey Joe, hi. So this excerpt is from the Bestiario de Criaturas Mágicas de las Islas Filipinas, dated 26 Abril 1898. There are many dangers when one seeks to tame a tikbalang. The creature's teeth are not those of an herbivore, but of an omnivore. Beware those teeth that can and will tear at vulnerable flesh. It is stronger than horse and man combined, and much more determined. It is keenly intelligent, as creatures of all the other races are. My recommendation is not outright battle or confrontation. Humans are the most brittle, the weakest of races when faced with the majesty of the horseman, built of both warrior and warhorse. Heed me in this. Engage the tikbalang on all levels that avoid combat. Use your wit and brains, your charm and goodwill. Even good cooking skills will serve you well, if you have those. For the tikbalang is a hungry beast, and he likes all things made with meat and hearty vegetables. Draw out your interaction with the other being. Make yourself attractive to him, and make it worth his while not to simply eat you. Then you are a step closer to the goal of taming this glorious wild thing. Thus do you get past the natural defenses of your tikbalang. If you are reading this bestiario, then you are blooded with the blessing of our ancestors' witches. The Bailan, the colonizers, could not burn at stake for fear of lightning reprisals from nature herself. You have the gifts of sight and of storms, the unwitting compassion of the earth and its other races. Good! The tikbalang will have pause despite its instinct to eat you. You are of my blood, and it is in the blood that your power runs. You have been named for the star that has always shone in my family. You are Tala, the strongest of us yet. So there's a little creepiness to this. Like, Tala reads this and it's like, whoa, why does she know me? Like, I never met her. And this is one of the devices I used to push the story forward, the Diary of Beatriz.
Thank you, Alma, for sharing the excerpt. Ano pa lang yun, patikim. Okay, patikim pa lang
Patikim
yun.
pa lang yun.
Creepy, the creepiness of that diary.
The creepiness of
Beatriz. Okay.
Well, Beatriz is creepy. She is very creepy. She reminds me of some of the really creepy relatives I have, and they're creepy in a good way. Also because, in a sense, I was Beatriz when I was babysitting my nieces and nephews in my Super Lola's house in our ancestral home. I used to tell them scary stories that would keep them in the, kids' room in the semi-basement of the house. So they would stay there for their naps. And I wouldn't get scolded by my grandmother for letting them out. So, kasi they used to ruin her orchids. So in order for her orchids to survive, I had to keep them, contained. I would tell them really scary stories that, like, if you put a toe outside of the bed, there was a bearskin rug with a bear's head, I'd go like, that bear's gonna come to life and eat you.
Grabe.
And I won't be here to defend you. And it can eat 10 children. And you won't be able to move while it's eating your cousin. Yeah. Well, I learned from my yayas. I learned from the best. But I didn't use tikbalangs. I used a bearskin rug.
Alright, thank you. This book is, I would say this is scary and fearless and bold, sexy at the same time. Halo-halo na.
Oh, thank you.
But
thank
it
you.
was beautifully, everything, all the elements were beautifully woven through. So thank you so much. And like I said, I enjoyed the chapter, the chapter I read last time, the other day.
Well, I hope you read the sequel also. See how you like that.
Definitely. I will. And I hope it does not make me want to try it. Okay, but I don't know. It could give me ideas.
Well, if you want to be in a manage, ain't nothing wrong with that as long as everybody consents and knows what they're consenting to.
Ano yan? The mantra, the Alma's mantra for this afternoon is hell, why not? Okay.
Hell, why not?
Hell, why not? If you want to do something, you want to write erotica, or you want to have sex, try out the fight scenes from this book, hell, why not?
Just be sure that you know what you're doing and you keep yourself safe.
Yes.
Right?
With
Safe sex, please. Safe
And
sex and safe combat practice.
Yes.
Both have to be safe. So, yon.
Alright, so that's what we can learn from how to tame your tikbalang without even trying. It is available at 8letters. At the 8letters website, you're seeing it on your screen. It's available for 580 pesos. Alma, where can our readers and viewers find you? I mean, do you have a Facebook page, Amazon link?
Okay, I have a Facebook page and a Facebook author page. And yes, they can find me on Amazon. I have an Amazon page. They can just search for Alma Anona Scarpio. And my author page has a drawing of me. My Facebook profile, my personal profile, has a picture of me. So that's how you tell the two apart. I'm on Twitter as @JerryAC. And I think I have a LinkedIn profile I haven't opened in months. And yeah, that's about it. And thank you, 8letters. I am so happy that my book has found a home and will be published for the local market because people have been asking for this, and I was just very fortunate to find you and be able to publish with you. It's a very humbling and a very rewarding experience for me.
Thank you. We're honored also to have your book with us, and I'm sure madadagdagan pa yan because you have your people.
I'm actually supposed to write a 5-book series.
Marami tayong
so I have it all planned. Yeah, they have the little sister from hell and the little brother from hell too. So, so more tikbalangs to come.
More tikbalangs. Cheers to more tikbalangs. Thank you again.
Cheers to more tikbalangs.
And
thank you, Miss Chris.
We hope to see you in MIBF again.
I will see you at MIBF. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, and for those who watched us for an hour or so, thank you for staying.
And yes,
for supporting us.
I can't see the audience, but I would like to thank the audience. I appreciate your presence. Salamat.
Okay, so marami pa tayong gagawin after the launch kasi meron pa tayong mga pre-orders. You can send us your orders. You can add to cart now. And then of course, abangan lang natin kung kailan magkakaroon ng physical launch. I'm sure meron yan in the works.
Oo naman.
If
naman.
Okay na yung mga spaces natin. Alright, so bye everyone. Bye Alma. I'll see you around.
Bye Chris. Bye everyone. And thank you for listening to us. Please buy the book. And thank you for buying the book. Those who have already pre-ordered, those who are buying right now, marami pong salamat.
Alright. Bye everyone.
Alright. Bye.